Good morning, televiewers of my media Prime Television. You are on to your favorite bilingual program, The Brief, where we always get to dig several layers beneath the major headlines as captured by newspapers in Cameroon. Today's edition of the program, we are focusing on the new members that have been welcomed by the Cameroon Academy of Sciences. They were welcomed recently in a ceremony in Yaoundé, the political capital of Cameroon. We shall also talk about the CPD and political party, where the Secretary General of the Central Committee, Jean Quentin, is in Boya, southwest region of the country, where militants of that political formation, the southwest region, have once again renewed their commitment in supporting President Paul Biya when it comes to doing politics in Cameroon. We shall talk on that and many other interesting headlines as presented to us by newspapers in Cameroon this morning. Etape Quentin is here, has been reading through some major French language newspapers. Let's have those headlines with us this morning. Bonjour Etape Quentin.
Bonjour Lasha, débrief jeudi 26 octobre 2023 sur ma Média Prime Télévision. Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue dans votre programme consacré au décryptage des actualités relayées dans les journaux en kiosque au quotidien. Démarrons ce devoir quotidien avec le journal Actu Info qui revient sur la catastrophe survenue dans une localité de Yaoundé. Eh bien, le bimensuel de Bona et Kobo titre en grande une: catastrophe, à qui appartiennent les poissons du lac de Mbankolo? C'est une interrogation, en tout cas selon nos confrères de ce tabloïd. L'éboulement de terrain qui a englouti et fait plusieurs morts en Mbankolo suscite des étonnements sur les causes de cette catastrophe. Les populations accusent le propriétaire d'un lac qui demeure inconnu et serait à l'origine de ce drame. Je vous invite à parcourir la page 3 de ce numéro que vous allez retrouver en kiosque ce matin. Poursuivons avec le journal L'œil du Sahel. L'œil du Sahel qui nous présente un menu riche et varié. D'ailleurs, le journal propose en grande une: Touboro, 50 personnes enlevées en 24 heures. De l'autre côté, le journal évoque d'autres sujets, à l'instar Ngaoundéré, l'université condamnée à payer 60 millions de francs CFA à 3 étudiants. Sécurité, le poste du BIR de Maga inauguré. Décentralisation, Garoua doté d'un centre de formation au métier. Des informations à retrouver dans les pages 2, 4, 10 de ce journal. Continuons avec le journal Le Jour qui, arrivé à notre niveau, parle de la thérapie et nous informe ce matin que le traitement du cancer se modernise au Cameroun. Eh bien, si l'on s'en tient à la page 3 de ce journal, l'on peut comprendre qu'avec les dernières techniques de radiation, l'accès aux soins à un coût moindre qu'à l'étranger au centre d'oncologie camerounais est disponible à Bekoko. Le même journal parle de Bafoussam et titre lutte contre la pollution plastique. En tout cas, des informations à retrouver en kiosque ce jour. Prenons également le journal Écho du Parlement. Préparatif de la session ordinaire de novembre 2023, l'administration parlementaire se mobilise, c'est la titraille principale de ce journal. Si l'on tente de scruter les lignes et colonnes de la page 3, l'on peut comprendre que les secrétaires généraux adjoints du Sénat et de l'Assemblée nationale ont chacun, en ce qui le concerne, tenu une importante réunion avec leurs collaborateurs en vue de préparer la 3e section ordinaire de l'année législative dédiée à l'examen du budget. Bernard Wongolo du Sénat et Abdoulaye Daouda de l'Assemblée nationale ont fait le point de ce qui est fait et ce qui devrait être fait. Chaque responsable et chef et structure a fait le point. Il en ressort que les préparatifs sont quasiment bouclés, mais quelques réglages devraient être faits pour que tout soit parfait le jour dit. Voilà. Finissons avec le journal Nouvel Horizon. Nouvel Horizon, pour sa part, s'intéresse à l'éducation et nous informe ce matin que 1571 enseignants introuvable. Eh bien, si l'on tente de jeter un coup de regard sur les pages 2 et 7, l'essentiel à retenir, c'est que les signes de la grève des enseignants du mouvement OTS se font déjà ressentir. La sortie d'une liste de 1571 enseignants absents de leur poste ce 23 octobre 2023 par le ministre de l'enseignement secondaire Nalova Lyonga étant une preuve palpable. Le ministre de l'enseignement secondaire lance un appel à la dénonciation des enseignants absents dans les établissements en prenant en compte le nombre d'immigrants camerounais présents au Canada et ailleurs, sans oublier les créations de micro-entreprises un peu partout sur le territoire national. La question se pose de savoir s'il existe un lien avec la désertion des enseignants au Cameroun. La faute revient au gouvernement camerounais pour mépris et maltraitance des enseignants. En tout cas, c'est ce que dit le journal. Je vous invite à retrouver ces journaux en kiosque ce matin pour vous enquérir d'amples explications sur certaines actualités mises en vitrine. Place actuellement à la découverte des autres tabloïds en anglais avec toi, Lasha. Juste après, ce sera la partie consacrée aux analyses.
Thank you so much, Etape. Let's kickstart this morning with the Horizon newspaper, which is interested in what I told you in my introduction. We are talking about some members of the Cameroon Academy of Sciences that have been received or welcomed according to the Horizon newspaper. Cameroon Academy of Sciences welcomes new members. The Professor Tebong Sami Chumbon-led scientific platform also hands PM 220-page compendium of recent research findings by Cameroon scientists relevant to the implementation of the National Development Strategy. Read the full details of that piece of information in this edition of the Horizon newspaper. The Horizon is also telling us that Francis Ngannou to earn 10 million US dollars. Victory or not, writes the newspaper. Read the full details on the preparation of the Francis Ngannou fight, which will take place this Saturday in Saudi Arabia. The full details of that piece of information are found on page 12 of this edition of the Horizon newspaper. Now on to Cameroon Insider newspaper. Cameroon Insider this morning is focusing on the 44th La Francophonie Ministerial Conference, which takes place in Yaoundé. Cameroon awaits over 400 guests, writes Cameroon Insider newspaper. Government, through the Minister of External Relations, Le Jeune Belambela, has given assurances that almost every aspect of preparation has been finalized ahead of the international event slated for November 4 through 5 in Yaoundé. In a special briefing on October 23, he said issues related to lodging, restructuring or restoration, healthcare services, transportation, security, accreditation of delegates and the press and communication have been sorted out already. Read the full details of the outing of the minister on page 3 of this edition of Cameroon Insider newspaper. Cameroon Insider newspaper is also interested in the race to the chairmanship of the SDF political party. Of the three candidates seeking the party's top job this weekend, Honorable O.C. Joshua says he plans to maintain Frundi's legacy. Gordon Zama has promised to take the party back to the people. Meanwhile, David Shewa, who is the coordinator of the party in Donga Mountain Division, has a restoration and reconciliation agenda. Find the details of the different manifestos of the three leaders or three candidates vying for the position of chairman in this edition of Cameroon Insider. On to the media. The media newspaper is interested in the mentorship that has been given to some Cameroonians by the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. How Abobala's Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa prepares youths for UN jobs. We are told that at least 30 former workers and interns of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa now occupying posts at UN agencies and big organizations across the world. Read the details on pages 6 through 7 of this edition of the Median newspaper. On to the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post newspaper is interested in the outing of former bâtonnier of Cameroon, ex-bar President Biya. Improve governance to avoid ongoing wind of change. He claims head of state overwhelmed by mafia he created. Says President Paul Biya, far from people he governs. Cameroonians don't know who governs as it stands. The newspaper tells us further that the former president of Cameroon Bar Association, Senior Barrister Yondo Mandenge Black, has advised President Paul Biya to urgently improve governance in the country to avert ongoing military takeovers in parts of West and Central Africa. The celebrated international lawyer and politician stated this in an open letter addressed to the head of state, President Paul Biya, in his epistle to President Biya, a copy of which this newspaper stumbled on. Said the senior legal counsel at the International Criminal Court reminded the head of state, President Paul Biya, that today a new wind is blowing stronger than the one from the east. It is coming from Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and to some extent neighboring Gabon. What are you waiting for to jump on the wagon of the change? That's what the lawyer has said in this open letter, or the open letter he sent to the President of the Republic of Cameroon, President Paul Biya. Now we are talking about other important issues. This time around, we're in the Southwest region with Municipal Updates newspaper. Ahead of 2025 presidential elections in the country, Southwest CPDM rallies behind President Paul Biya. A meeting held recently in the Southwest region of the country, precisely at the chief town Buea, where all the militants of that political formation in the Southwest region converged on Buea to receive the Secretary General of the Central Committee of the CPDM. Read the full details in this edition of Municipal Updates newspaper that you can find on Newspapers Kiosk this morning. We are back in the studio, televiewers on My Media Prime, to continue with our discussion this morning. We are joined by Dr. John Asson, who is a lecturer in one of the universities in South Africa. Doctor, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning to the viewers. It's a pleasure for me to be back on your program on air.
Yes, the Southwest region has rallied behind the President of the Republic ahead of the 2025 presidential elections in the country. Before the main meeting at the headquarters in Buea, we also had Indian Force section, the youths who were calling on President Paul Biya to present his candidature. Now the Southwest region, the entire Southwest region, has said yes to President Paul Biya.
Of course, they say he who pays the piper determines the tune. It's obvious that members of the CPDM ruling party obviously want to call for President Biya's candidacy, and you can see that the CPDM, it seems, does not have any other candidate who can actually do the job, so they have to go for Mr. Biya. So I think for calling for his candidacy is not a problem, but my biggest worry will be, what will his victory bring back to the people, especially for the people of Indian 4 CPDM, who for so many years have been in perpetual darkness, lack of roads, lack of basic service delivery. Probably maybe the head of state has promised them this time that if he wins, he's going to bring service delivery to them. Otherwise, for me, I do not have any problem with any group of people choosing who they want to be their leader, provided it's based on the person's ideology, is based on the person's either previous successes, or is based on the service delivery to the community. But if it comes to a case where maybe one or two leaders of a section are pushing others to do it, because of their own personal gains, that is what is going to be my issue. Every political party has a right. Mr. Biya for 40 years has tried his own best, and I think though we always argue that he could have done much better than what he has done, I am of the belief that nobody can work beyond his own mental capacity. So he has tried his best. Probably, according to the CPDM, he still has more to give to the people. So should in case he wins the election, fine and good, we will see what is going to happen. But for me,
doctor, are you not worried like many other Cameroonians? Are you not worried like many other Cameroonians that these calls are not genuine? That why can these people not instead rally and tell President Paul Biya to choose a young man within the political party to replace him?
You are very correct. That's why I said it's for every political organization to choose their leader. So if the people of CPDM are not seeing that Mr. Biya is quite old, he's tired, it tells you that it's not genuine, and it tells you that there are a lot of internal divisions within the CPDM. So the party on its own does not have a succession plan. They have not prepared a leader to take over the realms from Biya. So that is why, in the midst of all that confusion, they have to call upon the age-old president to return. Because it is obvious that at that age of getting to 90, Mr. Biya should be preparing to go home and rest with the Lord, not to still rule about 20 million Cameroonians. The headache is too much for him psychologically. Okay. So yes, CPDM should be calling for a young person, or the CPDM should call for, open up for candidates within the party to nominate themselves or be nominated to vie for the post of president. It mustn't be Mr. Biya choosing his successor. It's good for him to choose if he has prepared that successor to handle the situation or the problems of Cameroon squarely. But if not,
do you need to prepare your successor? Is your successor not supposed to, prove to you that he's ready to take over from you? When you have children in the house and you see how they are doing, you know for sure that this is my successor. You don't need to prepare him or her.
Obviously, once you know that this is my successor, there are some other secrets you will tell to him that you cannot tell the others. As you rightly said, it's from seeing the way they're acting. So if Mr. Biya has been observing within the ranks of his party and seeing who is doing what, who is good to replace him, he still has to call the person based on international politics, the geopolitical situation of the world. So I think that is still very necessary.
Okay. Now, we are also told by the media newspaper that
our connections are lost.
Yes, over 1,500 teachers are missing in action. And the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova Liunga, has issued until the 7th of November for these teachers to present their effective presence or they face administrative sanctions.
Oh.
Are you there? Apparently, we have an issue with Dr. We'll come back to Dr. Etape Quentin. This morning, the media newspaper is coming back to that particular story of teachers missing. I heard you read something in the French language newspaper talking about other teachers who have moved to Canada and they are blaming the government for neglecting those teachers in the country.
Oui, c'est la situation qui prévaut actuellement dans le pays. Il est sans doute que ce sont des signes de la révolte.
Que les enseignants qui décèdent, c'est à cause de la maltraitance du gouvernement.
Voilà, il est important aussi de souligner cet état de choses. Les enseignants qui laissent leur vie sans pour autant jouir totalement de leur travail. Eh bien, c'est une incongruité, monsieur Lasha Kisili. Les enseignants abandonnent leur poste. C'est de ça qu'il s'agit, c'est la question qu'il faut se poser. que ces derniers, face à leurs revendications...
Mais quand tu as les enseignants, quand tu as quelqu'un qui enseigne depuis 12 ans, il n'a pas touché 5 francs, tu crois que la personne va continuer toujours à enseigner?
Je ne pense pas qu'il va continuer à enseigner. Je ne pense pas. Mets-toi à la place de l'enseignant. Disons que tu travailles ici, ce qui est une réalité. Tu travailles pendant des années, mais tu ne reçois pas ton salaire. Quelle sera ta situation? Quel sera ton état d'esprit? Tu n'as pas des problèmes, tu n'as pas une famille à entretenir, tu n'as pas des enfants envoyés à l'école, tu n'as pas des gens à soigner, ainsi de suite. Non, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Moi, je pense que la mesure par laquelle il faut les blâmer ou il faut les administrer une sanction par rapport à leur absence dans l'impôt n'est pas efficace. Je crois qu'il est important ici de trouver les voies et moyens, quitte à ce que ce problème soit résolu définitivement.
Okay, the problem solved definitely. But now the government wants 1,500 of these teachers who are missing to come back. The government wants them to come back. And not probably putting in place measures. But among these 1,500, you have some people who are not genuine. Il y a des gens qui saisissent l'opportunité d'abandonner leur poste.
Oui. Voyez-vous,
mais parmi eux, il y a certains qui sont à l'étranger, hein, mais ils touchent encore l'argent ici.
Bon, on dit souvent que chaque situation laisse découvrir un certain nombre de réalités. Sur ce cas, on peut relever 3 points. Premièrement, beaucoup vont profiter de la situation des enseignants pour atteindre leur objectif. Pourquoi? Parce que dans ce métier d'enseignant, il y en a ceux qui ont préféré ne pas se présenter dans les établissements, mais se fait passer pour des fonctionnaires fictifs. C'est la raison pour laquelle vous avez eu à suivre des informations selon lesquelles il y a des postes fictifs, beaucoup reçoivent des salaires alors qu'ils ne font pas le travail dont ils sont appelés à faire. Secondo, vous savez, l'enseignement aujourd'hui fait objet de beaucoup de critiques, beaucoup de manquements. Les acteurs qui sont délaissés à eux-mêmes, exemple le mouvement OTS qui existe parce que les enseignants ne jouissent pas véritablement de leur métier. Ça devient compliqué, ça devient insupportable. Ceci amène à profiter peut-être pour changer de métier. D'autres qui vont abandonner définitivement et voilà, chercher d'autres choses à faire, se reconvertir dans d'autres domaines.
The Cameroon Insider newspaper mentioned this morning the outing of le jeune Belandela, talking about preparations ahead of La Francophonie. That Cameroon is ready, and top on the agenda of the meeting which will take place in Yaoundé this November will be military coup in Africa. They will discuss about military coup, and this is coming at a time where there is a lawyer, former bâtonnier, who is urging President Paul Biya to improve on governance system in the country. That President Paul Biya should work on his governance system. If not, it will be too late for him.
Ben, écoutez, c'est une sortie qui...
C'est Yondo Black, Yondo Black qui dit ça.
Voilà, c'est une sortie qu'il faut accorder beaucoup d'attention parce que là, on parle de la gouvernance. Eh bien, je pense que celui qui...
Il demande au président Paul Biya de faire très attention,
Mais l'heure est grave.
Parce qu'il y a une vent qui est en train de souffler.
Oui, l'heure est grave. Imaginez que dans un seul pays, on parle de plusieurs crises. Il y a la crise sécuritaire dans le Nozo, il y a le problème des enseignants, il y a le problème de la vie chère. Le Camerounais, aujourd'hui, le fonctionnaire moyen ne peut pas vivre de manière décente, de manière à rester à l'abri des besoins. Mais qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Il faut faire attention, comme le dit ce compatriote. Il faut organiser les choses de manière à ce que nous puissions être en paix du point de vue social et du point de vue politique. Vous comprenez que il n'est pas le seul à le dire. Maintenant, quand on parle de la 44e édition du congrès de la francophonie qui va se tenir à Yaoundé, peut-être il faut le rappeler que l'occasion devrait servir pour les enjeux du Cameroun et non pour les enjeux qui ne nous servent à rien concernant d'autres pays. Maintenant, on devrait mettre sur la table la question de la coopération entre le Cameroun et la France. En quoi est-ce que la France peut nous être utile au regard du contexte actuel? En quoi? Maintenant, si l'on tente de répondre à cette question, nous avons beaucoup de projets qui sont non réalisés dans le domaine du transport.
On parlait de mal-gouvernance, mais pourquoi la France ne veut pas ou peut pas aider Cameroun à sortir de la masse-gouvernance?
Écoutez, ce n'est pas la France qui devrait assurer cette responsabilité. La France n'est qu'un partenaire.
Ou la francophonie, disons la francophonie.
Bon, les pays de la francophonie, bon là, je peux concéder quelques bribes de crédibilité. Maintenant, la francophonie, vous savez, devrait aussi jouer ce rôle de bon conseiller. Le Cameroun étant un pays membre qui fait l'objet de plusieurs mots, il était judicieux de lui apporter un certain nombre de soutien pour que les gouvernants ou bien le gouvernement puisse sortir les Camerounais de ces multiples crises. Vous n'allez pas me dire que c'est seulement la francophonie. Maintenant, qu'est-ce que le gouvernant camerounais lui-même, le patriote lui-même fait pour que la situation change? Vous savez, il est important de décrier ce phénomène de la corruption, ce phénomène de dire qu'il faut protéger sa mangeoire, qu'il ne faut pas blaguer avec ce qui nous donne à manger. C'est vrai. Maintenant, est-ce qu'il est digne de sacrifier tout un peu parce qu'on veut protéger ses intérêts personnels? Je ne pense pas. Il faut, à partir de là, le changement de la mentalité. J'ai beaucoup écouté certains auteurs ici au Cameroun qui pensent que le Camerounais est à l'origine de ses propres turpitudes. Si nous sommes là aujourd'hui à manquer des réponses à nos questions, nous sommes à l'origine. Alors, je pense qu'il est nécessaire que chacun prenne conscience des multiples défis qui se présentent.
All right, we are told Dr. Asong is back at Etape. Let's have him before we come back to you. We are talking about the difficulties that Cameroon faces, that they have to look into those problems that is plaguing or are plaguing the country. Dr. Asong is back. Good. Welcome back, Doctor.
Yes.
Now,
thank you.
Yes. Now let's talk about this alert or warning that has been given to President Paul Biya by former Batonier, saying that President Paul Biya should improve on governance to avoid ongoing wind of change. He talked about President Paul Biya not being in power, that he claims head of state. He is claiming that the head of state overwhelmed by mafia he himself created. He has also said Biya is far from people he governs, that Cameroonians don't know who is actually governing the country. Yondo Black.
I think, yes, that is a very good call from the respected barrister. And if you hear somebody of that caliber giving a warning, then you can know what we say in English: there is no smoke without fire. A person of that caliber is aware of many things, and it is warning that is given to the government. I don't see exactly what can be done by Mr. Biya now if that wind of change has to come to Cameroon. We know the two warnings that he has given. Number one, the mafia that Mr. Biya has created around himself. It's a very strong mafia that is difficult to break. And that is a reason, one of the reasons why you see, as we were talking previously, young people calling for Mr. Biya to stay in power so that that cabal can be maintained. Because they are much aware that if you should open the CPDM liberally, open it up for things to be as a political party, most of those people are going to fall out of choice. They will be thrown away. And so they are entitled to Cameroon. They believe the country belongs to them. So they don't want to give space. So they have to maintain that mafia cabal of doing all those things. Secondly, Mr. Biya is far from his people. That is, it's very evident. Every Cameroonian knows that Mr. Biya is always in Switzerland most of the time. So at the end of the day, we don't know if the Secretary General at the presidency is the one ruling the country or not. Most of the time we hear his outings, we see him giving medals to meritorious citizens in a place of where the president is supposed to be doing it. So that tells you that there are people who are ruling the state, not the president. We've heard of previously in the media where when ministers go to visit the president in the 20th May ceremony, and they'll be introducing the president to certain ministers. Of course, the president is supposed to know all his ministers, not people telling you, "Salut le ministre de l'Agriculture, salut le ministre." No one can be telling you about your ministers. So that tells you, as Yondo.
No, but is that not just protocol? It's just protocol now, Doctor. It's protocol, not.
Is that protocol in Cameroon? That's not just protocol. People must know their people very well. As a president, you are the number one, you are the captain of a team. You cannot tell me that Abubakar Vincent will be there in the national team, captain of the Indomitable Lions, and another person will be introducing the players of Indomitable Lions to Abubakar. Abubakar should know them. The president should know the team he's working with. He should know who he has appointed in which capacity. You know, so too much of that protocol has created that mafia around him.
So now improving the governance system, do you think if that is done with Mr. Biya still being in power, something will change in Cameroon?
Now, if we want to improve the governance structure, in which direction are we taking that governance that we want to improve? Because there must be a plan in place and a policy in place which will be visible. So we cannot just improve governance from the vacuum.
There are many plans. There are many plans. Vision 2035. You have other development plans put in place by government.
Mr. Biya's government, or I wish Mr. Biya will be there by 2035. Yeah, if the plan is there and the plan has been voted in parliament and the plan has been taken to the people and the people accept the plan, then we need to ask ourselves, where did the plan start? And at the inception, has the plan been successful or not successful? Because we don't want to have a plan which is marred already with corrupt administration and the mafia cabal there. Then nothing can work. That plan will just be like all the other plans that have been there for the past 40 years. You know, you can talk of good governance, improving of roads. We have been hearing of roads that will be tarred, Bamenda Ring Road, Ekondo Titi Mondemba Road, Kumba Ekondo Titi. For several years, it's only now that it's trying to take off. So improving governance is good, but will the plan be achievable? And is the plan the right one for Cameroon at this moment? Because we need to put priority. What do we need at this moment? And let governance speak to that. No, we need to take away corruption. That's the first thing we need to do. We need the press to be free. We need the judiciary to be free. We need the parliament to be free, because all these arms of government are captured under the executive. So long as they are captured under the executive, democracy cannot move. And all that will lead to maladministration. We talked of the implementation or the recommendations of the Grand National Dialogue. Yet up to today, we hear regional governments still complain that they don't have structures to work, they don't have independent finances, the regional president cannot do things without the governor's authority. So these are all the things that contribute to bad governance. So if Mr. Biya has to change governance, everything that has been decided should be implemented from the word go. We need a change in the electoral laws of the country. We need a restructuring of the parliamentary session. We need a restructuring of the system of administration, the municipal system. All of that need to change before we can talk of improving on that governance.
Okay.
That is what I see in this situation.
And now the teachers are also crying, and the ministers of the different education or concern, they are after those teachers. And the latest is that of secondary education, where over 1,500 of them are missing, and Professor Pauline Alova-Lyonga wants them back before the 7th of November, or they will face administrative sanction.
It's easier to say so, but let's ask the question. They are missing. The first thing is, where are they missing? Are they in the country or out of the country? That's the first thing. Okay, if they are in the country, what makes them go missing? Is it because they have not pitched up for jobs, for work? What is their working condition? Are these people satisfied at their working condition? Is there enough security at their working conditions? So if the minister sits in his office and says he wants them back, you see, that is where the problem comes in now. Because 1,500 is a huge number. If we take it on an average of, let's say, 50 teachers per school, then we are talking of about 30 schools without teachers. And a school in Cameroon, let's say it's about minimum of 1,000. That is about 30,000 Cameroonians, future Cameroonians, without teachers in front of them. So it's not just enough for the minister to say, I want you back by the 7th. The minister should go to the ground and check what is actually the problem that has led to the disappearance of these people. So
some of these teachers are abroad. Some of them are abroad, and they are still receiving salaries back home. Some of these people are credible information.
If there is credible information that these people have gone abroad without termination of duty, obviously, or without getting permission, that should be a breach of their employment conditions or their employment contract, and that should lead to immediate expulsion. And those who are in the ground ready to do the job should be replaced. Because I'm definitely sure that we have more than 1,500 graduates from the various teacher training colleges who have not yet been appointed. So, and if they are abroad, the minister should automatically speak to the National Treasury, and their salaries are stopped immediately. Because they have to face the law. They have abandoned duty and they are taking money from the state.
So how would the minister ensure that the people who are being sanctioned are the real people? Because now with the crisis in the northwest and southwest region, there are some kind of score settling where some local administrative authority are forwarding the names of teachers to the ministry concerned for sanction because they have not come back to those crisis-stricken areas of the northwest and southwest.
Okay, it goes back to what I said earlier, that their working conditions, do they have good working conditions? Is there security in their working conditions? Because people cannot see in the northwest and southwest where there are gunshots coming up at every time, and then you expect them to go to work when they are not sure of the next hour if they will be leaving. So it goes down to what we have all been crying for the past, that there's a need to solve the problem. There's a need for an inclusive dialogue to resolve the problem of Cameroon, because the national dialogue was not an inclusive dialogue.
Okay.
Those recommendations were already made before the conference.
Okay.
So there's a need for an inclusive dialogue. Let that problem be solved once and for all.
Okay.
There's a need for new ideologies. The government cannot keep on giving aspirin for a sickness that does not need aspirin.
Thank you,
so
Doctor.
there is need for an inclusive dialogue. Let Cameroonians come and sit down and work without the instructions of the colonial masters.
Okay.
You might say, why am I saying colonial masters? We remember what happened in the Mo Ibrahim show. So that means whatever efforts are being done are still controlled by the colonial masters. We need to sit down as Cameroonians. Where do we want our country to go? And we decide from there. That problem, the problem in Southwest and Northwest, is not a problem that the Cameroon government cannot resolve. If there's an inclusive dialogue, people are free, people are open, people don't have hidden skeletons or hidden agendas, that problem can be solved with immediate effect, and Cameroon will return back to peace.
Okay, Doctor, thank you.
In that case, we have teachers going to work.
Thank you for coming. Our time is up. Thank you so much, Doctor.
No, you are welcome, sir.
Yes, and we cannot also...
Let me just say thank you for inviting me, and I wish your viewers a very pleasant weekend ahead, and I send special greetings to my people there in Ekombe, Bonji, in Trikona Ekombe, that we are in one spirit.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for coming. Like I said, we can't go without wishing this special Cameroonian who is making Africa proud. Happy birthday. We are talking about Dr. Richard Muna, who is the United Nations Environment Program Head of Global Environmental Monitoring Systems, the first Cameroonian ever to have held that position. And he was appointed just recently. Today, he clocks 45. Happy birthday to you, Dr. Richard Muna, and continue looking for solutions or world climate solution as you head that institution. That's it, televiewers of My Media Prime Television. We thank you so much for staying tuned with us. We will be back tomorrow for the last edition of the program for the week. And of course, the program for today was produced for us by Christain, Tebong. We were Etape, Quentin, and myself, Lasha. See you tomorrow for another edition. Bye-bye.